Hi, so today we're going to talk about Claude AI. Claude AI is a new AI tool. Claude AI Design is a new AI tool from Anthropic. Claude AI slash design is a new design tool from Anthropic. You can make some really cool designs with this tool. It's my favorite design tool right now. I think it does the best work. So let's get into how it works. Basically, you go to claude.ai slash design, and you're going to be asked sort of an interview question about what kind of design system that you want to make. For me, I had already an app that I'm building called the Romy Baby Photo app, and I'd already been working on some design language for it. So we had like call to action and theme colors, and we have an icon and stuff. But I wanted Claude AI design to have a look at it and suggest ways that we could make it even better. I gave it lots of context. So even to get to this point, I invested a lot of time and effort into writing documentations all about the app, how it works. We wrote all the code for it. So there's a ton of context. But what happens is Claude then basically creates like a design Bible or brand guideline. It's called a whole design system. And it writes this very extensive documentation all about how your design system should work in a systematic way. So it will help to design, for example, the icons style for all the icons, the voice and tone. So we say versus we avoid. And so this is how we're going to communicate to the user. There's even this thing called a word mark, which is kind of like a logo. It created the colors. So here there's 4 different accent hues: mint, peach, sky, amber. And then we've already established that the app is the Romy Baby app. So we're going to use a lot of cream colors and light tans and those sorts of things. So it already knew that and it ran with that. It thought that was a good idea. We're also using kind of a rose color as our primary accent color. And what Claude Design can do is then look at that base color and then come up with some complementary shades or tones. And then for the visual communication part of it, whereby we want to present notifications, alerts, call to actions, pop-up modals, and so forth, we'll use different colors for those semantic tones. So the success pop-up or modal be different color than maybe an informational or warning message. It defines the shadows and the radii or the radius of the corners of the app. And that's really important for us because we're making a soft feeling app, primarily for parents of expecting a new baby or a child in their life. It understands typography, so it defines things like the headlines and the subtitles, even the font face that it should use, as well as where it will use things like bold, italic, all caps, and so forth. It comes up with button styles. So you can think about this in terms of like when buttons are active, when they're hovered, when they're clicked, if they're optional, or if they are required buttons to capture user input, preference, or actions. So this is going into tremendous detail. These are things that even as a professional, when we are writing our own product requirement documents or our own design direction, these are the level of detail that I think few people would normally go into on a first pass. This is like really thinking deeply about almost all questions that a designer or an engineer would ask if they were going to implement such design. So it goes into tremendous detail and depth. It uses the latest Claude Opus 4.8 model, but it uses it in a way that you have to get it through the design tool here. It wouldn't be at this level if you just use it through Claude Code or the Claude website. So what they've done with Claude.ai/design is they've built their own app. It's a whole app with file systems and everything else. So you will get a very similar experience to this, but designed for your brand or for whatever app you want to build. Again, I prepared tons of context ahead of this. So I've been working on this app. The app, I can actually use it on my phone right now. I'm getting ready to publish it to the Google Play Store for download on Android. But I want to make the UI and the UX and the FTUE, which is the first time user experience, I want that to be really, really good. And I also want to make sure that my app is very well integrated with the Google Play Store requirements and suggested implementation details. Like, for example, if we want to publish our app on App Store for Android Google devices, we would need to have an App Store page. We would need to request to be listed there, to publish for Google to approve our app and to publish onto their App Store. And then to do that, they're going to need to test our app, and they're going to need to test the app as if they were a paying user, so they could see how everything works. And then when we want to integrate things like payments into this, we could use Google Play's built-in in-app purchase system or integration with Google Wallet. So I wanted to make sure that our app didn't treat these as like an afterthought or something that we just bolt on without thinking about it first. I wanted us to actually build the entire app, all the key features with these requirements and not constraints, but actually, opportunities, these rails to actually make the best app possible, to maximize the user experience, to make it really seamless and integrated. So I have come up with a pricing plan. The design system created this price card, but this is mostly for the design. However, we do have a price point and what we're looking to do, and primarily what I'm planning to do, is to monetize this app by selling, credit packs or like photo packs. So this is my way for learning how to offer value to customers through the latest Play Store guidelines, as well as using Gen AI in sustainable ways. So it's done these status cards, it's done these button styles, it's done things like the spacing, the scaling, the radius, the round, the softness of the shadows, the colors, even the kind of logo, the brand identity, voice, and tone. And it's even helping me with my pricing page, or in this case, a price card. It's also helping me with an onboarding. So when users download the app for the first time and they're just getting it set up, they're creating their account, or they're looking through all the features, it's great to have a walkthrough or an onboarding tutorial or tour that users can go through to understand how the app actually works. Here you're in the home page, and again, it's using the existing code, just cleaning up the design a little bit. And it creates that for us, creates cards and text. So then now I have this full design system. And so it's not building me the app per se. What I'm actually wanting to use the tokens on and the context and the reasoning is to build me a system so that my coding agent doesn't have to spend time thinking or making up stuff if it can just refer to the existing design system. This becomes context that the agent can then refer to and gather the information. So it becomes kind of like a knowledge base. So it helps to steer the probabilistic nature of the AI models when it knows to look for design systems. And if a design system doesn't exist, it can create one for you. But if you use something like Claude.ai/design tool, you can actually export this. You can take this as a design system, and then you can create something with this design system. So you'll notice that I have two different kinds of designs. There's this purple and red. Basically, the purples are the design systems, and the reds are the pages or wireframes that I mocked up or created, even slides, animations, based on those design systems. So that's what this is. When you start a chat with this Claude AI chatbot, you can preload your design system. From there, you can ask it to create you pages and so forth. And I asked it to create the following pages, the first time user experience. So we'll hide the sidebar here and we'll just present it in the tab like this. And so it's taken my, it's reasoned very deeply about these cards. So while they might look similar, they're in a very specific order. And it's even required from myself some feedback on something I wanted to clarify. So for example, I wanted this 3 become 1 type card, whereby what I'm trying to do with this app, in addition to learning how to make apps, how to publish on the App Store, how to use the AI tools, I'm just trying to think of a personal use case in which AI made a positive difference in my life. And for me, it was when I used my son's ultrasound photos when he was still, when his mother was still pregnant with him and he was still kind of, he hadn't been born yet. During the pregnancy, we took ultrasounds month by month. And we got to a month where we had such a good picture of his face, of how his face looks and his head shape. And I was able to take this ultrasound image, which for me was just I used my camera phone to take a photo of the doctor's television screen where they were displaying the ultrasound in real time. So I got to learn how the software that the doctors used to do the ultrasounds. And then I, as a user, was thinking like, I'm a parent, how could I, I love this data that I'm getting about my child. I feel like it's a keepsake for me. I want to like capture that. But the ultrasound they only print them. There's no digital copies of them, at least at the 3 different hospitals that we took ultrasounds at. So for the parent to request digital files is not yet something that I've seen a lot of hospitals can do. So I was just kind of solving my own problem, or just kind of like my own desire, in that I wanted to try to see if I could project what my unborn baby will look like when he was a newborn. And I wanted to use that as an evaluation of how good or how capable, how real is this technology in terms of AI. And so I made it a project of mine to think about this, how my son will come into this world and what his identity will be and what his digital rights will be and what is his online profile. And it started to become very meaningful to me that, even just naming someone, giving someone a name in their, account name, if it's their real name, that is a unique identity. And he was having his own unique identity. And it started with his own heart rate, his own BPMs, which I was able to hear. And then I could also see his face once he started developing. And so the ultrasound at around, I don't remember exactly which month, but maybe 4, 5, 6, something in that range, maybe 7, but I think it was before that. We had a good picture of his face. And I took this picture and I used Gemini and I used GPT. I used the different AIs to merge a picture of myself, his mother, and the ultrasound, merge them together to try to see what the baby would look like as a newborn. And I would do these many times, maybe more than 20 times or 30 times. And some percent I really liked, and many of them I thought maybe doesn't look like him as much. But the ones that looked like him looked very similar. And it turned out that I would say we're 80 to 90% looked almost exactly like him. And I can show you guys. You can see some of the photos here. So this is a photo that I made with the AI models that is not a picture of my actual son, but is a picture of what his ultrasound and what his parents look like. And this picture is eerily similar to what my son really looks like. It looks very similar to him. But not all the models produce the best results. And it turned out that, this was a very interesting way to benchmark or rank or evaluate the different models, was on this prompt. Here's a photo of my son's ultrasound. Here's a photo of his parents, the mom and the dad. And maybe some basic details about mom and dad, like, you're from this country or you're that country. It doesn't matter if you're from Thai, Laos, or America, right? So it works great for all of that. And then I asked these models to each of them make images, as many as you can, maybe like 4 or 5, whatever, however many, 10. And then I looked at all of them and I said, this one looks like him, this one's don't as much. So I selected all of the images, right? I'm using the feedback from human feedback. This is the reinforcement learning. And it turns out that fundamentally, it's just a model thing. The model here, in this case, Gemini, is, to me, the best image generation model. Gemini 3.1 flash image makes these photos. And again, I did not provide the model a picture of what my son actually looks like. We only used my profile picture, his mother's profile picture, and his ultrasound. And we got these that look super, super real. And then we can compare these to what he actually looks like in real life. And we can say, wow, these models are incredible. So what I want to do is give this as an app I can put on the App Store. So anyone, like parents, mommies, daddies, and so forth, who are pregnant now, can create some keepsakes, memory photos, and gallery. And I found that when you have these kinds of photos and you are expected parent, and you see what your newborn will look like, every day it gives you some special emotional meaning to your life, which I think is so unique and so incredible. And it's something that you cannot replace it, you cannot replicate it. It is this very distinct feeling for me of being a father, being a dad. And I think only few fathers who are real dads can know my feeling, but I think other people can have an idea, or they would have their own version of the feeling. But when you see my son, you meet my son, you might understand. Yeah, so it's just really cute, and it doesn't look it doesn't look 100% like him, but it's close. It's like 80 to 90, more than 90% very similar. So it's very cool. And what I wanted to do is just make it an app and make an app that I would have on my phone for my son. So I want to have my own, I want to have a special app as a parent for my son or my child, right? So, and I don't really know if there's many apps like that. It's not something that, again, once you're a parent, you would be looking for that or trying to find that. But then it turns out once you are a parent, once you become a parent, or you realize that you will be a parent soon, your life changes in a big way, and you start prioritizing and thinking about things in a whole different way. So for me, it's like I'm very happy to invest into my child's happiness, his health, and anything even related to that. So maybe eventually I was thinking the app could help me to track his key vitals, and that could be the next phase of the journey. But for now, this app is to codify my, let's say, my experience as a expected father during the pregnancy journey. It's sort of like how I was being part of that to support his mother, and also like I can only see, again, that's the difference between the mother's feeling with the child and what I am as a father, because I'm expecting, I see him growing, but I only see him from the outside. And then when I could see the ultrasound, that really put a face to his name. The mother can obviously feel him on the inside. So that's what the ultrasound does. It's the scan of what the baby is in the womb. And so I think that is the key component to this. I think there are maybe some apps you can use now that will take, two people's faces, and you can merge them and ask the AI, what would their baby look like? And you'll get you'll get an array or a range of different variants. But once you have the ultrasound as a key context, and what I do in the app is I run, in addition to this ultrasound, I do some processing using some machine learning models to try to find the map of his facial structure, because the ultrasounds can be quite blurry, and there are times when the baby gets so big that their face is pressing up against the womb, and you can't even ultrasound anything anymore. And that's how my son was. He was fully turned, like almost like, it was 100% before he was born. And so toward the end of the last few months, the ultrasounds didn't actually show me his face that much. So the window of time to get the ultrasound where there's enough space in the womb and also his face is developed enough, is, I don't know exactly which month is that or which week is that, but there's a time. So I recognize that this app might be like very niche for a very specific moment in time, but as a parent going through that, it is can be very stressful when you're trying to manage all of the medical care and coordination, and on top of that, you're thinking about the mother's health and just how your life is going to change, and there's so much. I wanted to have some app as assistance or guidance, or just like a way for me to um, feel more calm and empowered about what's happening. I found AI to be hugely beneficial for me on that. I feel like it was a way for me to become prepared um, as a parent in a way that maybe has never been possible before. Um, so the use of the AI itself during this process was transformational. I think it was, if you think about the whole story from my son's inception to his birth, and you overlap that with where I was along my own AI journey, research and development. it overlapped in this really interesting way whereby it almost felt like we were manifesting this arrival of him, and that started from giving him a name and going through all of the checkups and coming close to the due date, the delivery date. And it just felt like this whole time we were creating the future that it was, in some sense, evolving as we were going. And this AI was giving me that advanced view by just a few months, just a projection, a simulation. But it was like suddenly something that was hard to see or blurry suddenly came into focus and it got sharper for me. And that's kind of my passion behind this thing. Again, I know this is not something that's for everyone, this app, right? And it's not designed for that. It is this niche, but it doesn't mean it has to stay that way forever. And if I can get through this process and do this well, then that allows me, I think, the confidence and the permission to do the next stage. And what is the next stage there? Well, now he's a person. He's a child. He's a human being. He has his own ID, his medical data, his health, and his doctors. And so maybe the next phase is to link the, there's the medical process prior to leading up to the actual delivery, all the pregnancy, and then there's the delivery itself. There's the doctor who takes care of the mothers, and then there's the doctor who looks after the newborn child, and they all have their specialties, specialty and specializations, but they work together. And so we, as the parents, have to interface with many different departments, whether we are talking about, normal checkups for our child, or, post, post care for the mother, and any support that the father needs, or, because it's also very hard on the father. It can be, as I said, extremely stressful. Fathers can have very limited, like, low sleep. So right now, if I was trying to track the sleep score, I would be completely losing on that dimension. But at the same time, it's like never been happier because I get to see my son every day, and it's just like the best part of my life right now. I'm living it right now. And so, like, this kind of app is, what is the value of it now that he is born, right? Now that we see what he does look like and what his AI photos said he would look like. What does it mean now? Well, the question is, do we have an idea of what he will look like when he goes to school? Do we think we can guess how he would fit into a school in Thailand, for example? Maybe he would go to a private school, or an English language school, or international school. He could even go to Thai school. He can stay in Thailand until he's 15 years old, actually, and just doesn't need a visa, doesn't need anything. So my son can, he can grow up here, he can go to school here, he can have his medical care here for the initial part of his life. And his life doesn't just end, his journey is not finished now that he's born. Now that he's an actual kid, he's an actual child, there's a whole journey for him. And right now he's in that stage where he has nothing wrong with him. He's basically perfect. He's never been hurt. He's never made any mistakes. He's an angel. So my son is my inspiration on what it means to be a good person, and I want to be a good person for him, and he's teaching me how to be a good person. So when I make an app like this, I'm making it with love that only me as a father, people can understand it. And so it is a very niche project for me, but I call it Romy. That's the name of the app. The app is actually built, and I'm planning on releasing it to the app stores. And I'm using Codex and Claude to help me develop everything, to create plans, and to publish it to the App Store. I expect I'll be able to publish this app to the App Store in the coming weeks. Now, it goes through a process whereby we need to recruit some testers. So we might need at least 10, 20 different people to be with us on this app, to use the app with us, to try it out, to test it, to use the features. Tell us what they think. How could we do better? What could we improve? Anything you would like, and then make those fixes and those improvements so that it's almost perfect. And that's what I want Romy app to be. In terms of where we'll go next, I think I kind of hinted at or alluded to the pediatric side of things, whereby he as a child has a special doctor that cares for him, and then I think there are normal things that they would do with a checkup on a child, like the temperature and their weight. And I think tracking or logging these key vitals, maybe his blood pressure, beats PM, his weight, his temperature, just how he looks. Does he look healthy? Does he look strong? Those are all the notes that the doctor's going to make when they look at a baby. And if he's on a great trajectory or a great development, the doctors will actually use a chart to project out where the child is or where they should be relative to the population and where they expect to be. And you can actually project how the child will grow, like what height or weight they'll be in a few months. And so the doctors even themselves are making these projections or forecasts. So I thought maybe that could be one of the next step to the Romy app. Maybe it starts out as baby photos, but then it goes beyond that to just child healthcare for your child, family kind of app. All right, so it's a full rendered HTML page, which is a huge benefit or help to the AI models, because you're not just giving it a description, you're not just giving it an image, you've actually defined all of the shapes and the fonts and all of the rules and the style tokens and the guidelines. So from here, the AI model should have a much easier time to implement it into the mobile native code, which I'll be doing now. It takes time. It might take hours. So we'll end the video here, but this was basically just a walkthrough so you could see how Claude AI design system works, whereby you can design your own design language, visual identity, branding, and so forth, and then use this to create apps that resonate with your target users. And we'll let that just load in the background. But that's all for now. Thank you guys very much. I hope you found this video guide walkthrough educational and useful. Thanks. Bye.